distance in the light, vibration of a thundercloud.
Hello, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens. This is the My Sober Addiction podcast. And we are happy, healthy, wealthy, and free. Oh, loved and free. I forgot the best one. Anyway, I'm back. And yeah, I've been taking a pretty long hiatus. Just one of those things that just kind of happens. And I do have Clive and Dom with me, and I am so thankful for that. I've been very excited about this. We've got a lot to talk about. Hello, Clive.
Hey, how you doing, Matt?
Very good.
It's been a little while since we've had a podcast, and doing one about thinking today is actually quite timely for me because my brain's been in overdrive lately, and I don't know, it's all been healthy. It's not all been balanced, and that's where the kind of danger zone lies. So talking about that could be pretty good, I think.
Yeah, and Dom is kind of the inspiration behind this theme, I suppose, because he had mentioned thinking and, I guess not thinking and thinking about thinking. Go ahead. How are you, Dom?
Oh, yeah, good. Yeah, we were having a chat, and I mentioned that I was going to not think for a while, and I did state that thinking too much hadn't seemed to have done any good.
Right.
And
sometimes.
I suppose one way that we lead into the podcast is asking how do we know when we've figured out as much as we need to about what's going on in the world, so that we don't have to keep on doom scrolling to find out more, because that's one of the things, isn't it? I mean, things get so scary that we figure out if we're not checking it out all the time, then we're going to miss something that's really, really frightening.
Well, one of the things, like with regards to doom scrolling is that, these algorithms with regards to YouTube or Facebook, any of these social media, the algorithms figure you out. And it's like, and you can test it for yourself. You can start going down a different rabbit or going down a different trail if you wanted to. For example, if you are more along this line of thinking and it picks up on what what it is that you click on, or what it is that you click the like button on, and whatever, and it starts feeding you more of it. And if you notice, it starts getting deeper and deeper, and maybe even darker and darker, or whatever. And I've even tested this. If I like, everything that I usually say I like, I'm gonna say I don't like, and then it started changing what it was giving me, and then it would go over to the other side. So it's like whatever news it feeds you that based on what you've liked and clicked on in the past. So it's like, what's really true, and what difference does it make anyway? Because how does it affect my life and the people around me?
I think this is the thing. I mean, it has, for me, I am fairly addicted to Facebook. I do scroll down through, and whilst I get quite a lot of healthy stuff, I get the kind of the psychological and spiritual stuff. Literally the last 2 weeks, I've just had a glut of Epstein and all that kind of stuff. And it's started to fill my head up, and it's not very pleasant, and I'm thinking, well, how much do I need to be looking at this? So I'm aware that it's going on. I'm aware that there's this stuff being ignored and not being dealt with well. And it feels like it's kind of important to follow it. And, you've got people going through, getting AI bots to scrape through 3 million emails. And so, I'm not going down that far, but other people are doing it. Other people are addressing it. So I don't potentially need to. I've written poetry about it. I've written songs about, the sociopathic patriarchy and stuff. I feel I've done my bit. So can I now switch off? And I think this is a bit that Dom's getting to. At what point do you disconnect? Because I've hit the weekend at saturation point this week. I've done open mic poetry. I've made music. I've made web pages. And I feel like my head's just, and then I wake up on Saturday morning, I'm scrolling Facebook again, going deeper into it. And it's like, if I were going 20, 30 years back in my life when I had other addictions, those were the kind of things that fueled my addictions on. The fact that the world looked so bleak and so mudded and so distorted. Whereas actually, if I had woken up and, gone on an art page and a comedy page and listened to some nice meditation music and maybe gone out to a yoga retreat and gone, actually, I give myself permission not to fill my head with that stuff this weekend. then actually I would have had an entirely different weekend and probably would have had more clarity to deal with it during the week because of that break. And I think this is the thing. We think if we keep working and working away at something, that it will enable us to come up with a solution. And I think quite often we need to step back from it. We need to go, I'm aware, I can move away from that. I mean, if I've got a problem, say, in a relationship, for example, like with an ex or whatever, then it's like, well, I can think about that continuously all day, every day. Or I can go, okay, I'm going to think about how to resolve that for 10 minutes. I might even write it down. I might throw it through AI or whatever.
White light meditation.
Yeah, I might have a little meditation and just throw some good intentions that way and back to myself and think about it with compassion, think about it differently. I mean, it's like they say, practice doesn't make perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. If we're thinking wrong thoughts and we're thinking about things wrongly, then we're just going to keep getting further and further down that road. And I think that's what you're saying about the algorithms. They kind of drag you down that road as well. And they've done experiments on it. They've done A/B testing on people. And I've heard that even will put ex-partners back into your news feed if you stop using social media quite as much, because they found that when they drop that back into your news feed, suddenly people start engaging back again. So we are being played with. And like they say with mobile phones, they're not just mobile phones, they're multi-million-pound weapons pointed at your brain. And, they're banning phones for under 16s in Australia and social media and stuff for them because they realise the damage it's doing to their brains and their development.
I figured out maybe topic number 2 then. I'm just going to make a suggestion. And then perhaps the topic number 2 could be, how do we downgrade our phone enough so that it does everything we need to, but it's good enough? But can I make a suggestion about what is enough? And let's look at some people who suggest that they have an answer. They have an answer to cure all of the world's ills and take us to a place that's beyond the hubbub, beyond the hubbub. And let's say it's people different religions who say that we have to concentrate on the divine. And by the divine, I think what they're saying is just one thing, just one thing. And we don't have to. We can call that whatever we want. If you're a Catholic, you can call it, God. If you're a Muslim, you can call it Allah. But let's say that just the idea of bringing ourselves to thinking about one thing, because the whole idea of that is that what they're saying is that there originally is just one thing, and then that one thing gets separated and divided into everything that becomes our personalities. And what our mobile phone is doing is it's dividing it even more. So there comes a point when it's useful to go back up the waterfall because if we just carry on, unless we're very, very good at deciding the route that we want to take as we carry on down.
But isn't that what some drug use is about? It's because we have got this soup of stuff going on, and then you have that cigarette and that Zen-like moment. You have, it takes the thoughts away. It's self-medication sometimes, but again, it's not a healthy self-medication. And I know that I've self-medicated for many, many, many years, and I've had to change my mindset and my thinking to organize my head better, that I don't rely back on those self-medications.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to make physical changes to the way I think, I believe. And that's been very hard. It's not an easy thing to do, but I think, going back to having so many thoughts in your head, then you get a project on, like, I'm going to redo the garden, landscape the garden, and you might go the whole day without having those thoughts. So you are creating that oneness. If you had your little Zen garden or whatever that you're raking out in your sand tray, the tea ceremonies that they have in Japan and stuff. It's like, what are the things that we can do? I mean, I find meditation very hard, to meditate on, but I find guided meditation easier when someone's guided me through to think about, feeling the breath fill my body, to feel the energy rise up to my mind. And, that I find easier. And at that point, I'm not thinking about the rest of the world. it's naturally fallen away?
Well, I think this reminds me, and this is something that I have suggested time and again, and I will continue to, is when I mentioned doing the awareness alarms, like on your phone, for example, every hour, every 2 hours, however, whatever you think. But when that alarm goes off, okay, I need to center. It's like, what am I doing? Like if I have it set up to go off every hour on the hour, when that alarm goes off, I realize, okay, what am I doing? And just kind of take stock of yourself. I'm like, okay, right now I'm doom scrolling. Okay. And I've probably been doom scrolling for the last 45 minutes, completely unaware of that. And it's like, well, I need to recenter and bring it in, focus on your breath, bring it in, focus, do 3 or 4 breaths. And I know people are like, well, I'm at work, I can't do that. It's like, well, you can take a little break. You can take a restroom break, right? I mean, just 3 or 4 breaths to where you really just focus on yourself, take stock of what am I doing? Oh, I'm sitting here doom scrolling. That's not good. I need to stop that right now. I can stop it right now. I really can. It doesn't feel like I can. It's like, man, just one more, right? I can just one more reel or just one more short video. No, stop right now. Turn it all the way off right now. And there you go. Let it go. And it's not, it's as hard as it is. It's as hard as it is. It's as easy. It's just so easy to just stop, just stop doom scrolling, stop, whatever it is that you're doing at the time. But to get centered and realize, just take some deep breaths, get centered in your mind, maybe say, I am, whatever. But stop thinking and going down all these rabbit holes. That's where I was getting at. If it's like I've been thinking.
So, as we said before, we're trying to find out what's going on. So basically, we've got this device that we seem to think that it's going to give us an answer, and it's not going to give us an answer. It's going to take us on another trip. That's what it's doing. So I think it's not a bad thing for us to actually find out what does give us an answer. That's
right.
That's not a bad thing.
My main thing is it's like when we catch ourselves, I guess, is what I'm saying. And that's why I think the awareness alarms on our phones, and, use whatever you want. But when you catch yourself overthinking or following a news thread, that's probably biased. Okay. Let's face it. Most of the news out there is biased either way. I mean, it's going to go to the left or to the right. Doesn't matter. Point is, it's going to be biased. And you can even do a little experiment if you want and realize and take and kind of swing your algorithm the other way, and realize that these biases go. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that because that's, again, another waste of time. It's, again, following a news feed. Don't even worry about it. Just turn it off.
But again, the way these are delivered, the way the articles are written, they're very much designed to release little hits of adrenaline through anticipation, like, oh, is it, isn't it? What's that about? And I think the problem is finding something to replace that, or realizing that you are being hooked into this kind of dopamine fairground that is actually desensitizing you. I mean, I've talked about this before where, you used to get a dopamine rush because you tidied up the kitchen. But now that dopamine rush is probably lesser than you get from doom scrolling for 5 minutes sat on your butt, whereas actually the functional reward for doing something that was earned, you've actually earned it. And so I could set my intention alarm to say, oh, what are you doing now? And they'll be like, well, I'm releasing dopamine, so everything's all good, mate.
Right.
Whereas actually the real question should be, am I releasing dopamine for something that is earned? And I think that's the problem with, like, cigarettes, with doom scrolling, with, various other activities that aren't necessarily so fruitful in our lives. They're not earned dopamine hits. They're not functioning to move our lives forward in a way that it will leave our lives better, to not be wanting to seek out dopamine hits because we're naturally on a better level. I know I'm naturally on a better level and less susceptible to stuff when I have tidied the house, when I've got on top of getting back to people. I've done all the things that I've said I will do. I think that's one of the biggest things in my life, is if I have said I'm going to do stuff and I haven't done it, it clutters up my my brain space. You know, if I've got a website I've got to build and someone I've got to call back and a bill I've got to pay and a this, that, and the other, and I haven't painted that door and I've got this whole list of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to then go, well, there's too much to even pick one. So I'm just going to avoid it all by enjoying.
But sometimes when we've done all that, the reward is, I could just do some doom scrolling now.
Yeah. And when I've done it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, then like I haven't got enough time to even pick which task is the most important. So I might as well just do it for another hour, you know?
Right. That's one of the things that drives me crazy about myself is I've got so many things to do. And it's like, and then you catch yourself and it's like, I've just sat here and watched like whatever, some news feeds for like 45 minutes. And now I'm angry. Okay. And I can't, and I'm not going to get focused to do anything. Plus I've lost 45 minutes. And what's it gotten me? What have I gotten? I've gotten angry. So my vibration's low. I'm not going to be very productive even if I do start working because why? Because I'm angry, and it's like, and it's not going to fix it. I mean, it takes us back to the serenity prayer again, but.
You were saying before, Matt, about actually, creating. So when the alarm goes off and you go, right, I'm going to do this instead.
Right.
I mean, that's great. And this idea of going from thinking to believing. So like some people will go, well, that wouldn't work for me. Well, it doesn't work unless you do it. And
Right.
if you do it, then you start to believe that it works. We kind of speak our thoughts into actions if we choose to take them. And I think this is the thing. We create our own thinking, but some people will think, well, I can't do that. That's not me. I could set an alarm. It'll never work. But the problem is if you're thinking that, that's what you believe and that's what you'll act out, I believe.
I think you just stated what the use of thinking is. That's the whole horse and the cart thing in Buddhism, isn't it? It's thinking is useful for doing things like telling us that we've got to move from doom scrolling to something else. That's useful thinking. But then the non-useful thinking is the doom scrolling itself. So the actual decision to get that task underway, that's useful. And what is it that we can do if we? It's good to have a number of things, isn't it? Or in Catholicism, they have rosary beads. You just you concentrate on that oneness. It's on the little island I'm on. It's amazing how you look at churches and places like that and realize that the internet is full of people talking about the ideas of creating reality, and people have been doing it in churches for years. They've been concentrating on unity. They've been creating, praying to create things in their lives and stuff like that. The internet is full of this stuff now, telling people to do it. Affirmations.
Some people are much better at manifesting stuff than others, and some people are much better just because they believe that they can do it and they are practicing it in a way that they see the results of that. Because when you don't see the results, then you lose all motivation to do stuff, I think,
What was the term you used the other day? It was to concentrate your thought. Clive, you used a term, but having the ability to focus our thought and not on something that is not so useful for our lives, but actually being able to pin that down, as I say, either concentrate on something that's a singular unity, whether that's God or something else, or decide that we're going to take a course of action. So Rudolf Steiner was quite good at talking about that. He said it's useful if you just choose anything. Think about anything and see how long you can keep that thought. Gurdjieff talked about remembering oneself. So just decide that you're going to remember who you are and then walk around and see. He says sometimes it'd be days before you go, oh, hang on, I decided I was going to remember something. I was going to remember myself. And then if it's been days and I haven't even remembered it, well, what am I? So it's just choosing something. Practice it. It's like
we've been talking, Dom, about you riding different waves, and you talked about, because I sent some comedy links, and you said, you're on the comedy wave, and how many waves can we ride at once? And like I was saying earlier, I've been on several different waves this week. I went to see comedy on Friday night, which was amazing, like stand-up comedy with Rob Mulholland, who was excellent. And then yesterday night in the theatre in Sheffield, I went to see To Kill a Mockingbird. And so that was very, very different from the comedy. You know, like the comedy made me kind of break free, have a laugh with friends, have a nice, fairly carefree night. To Kill a Mockingbird, it reminded me of what's going on in America at the moment, and thinking, gosh, there's a lot of people could do with watching that at the moment. And it got me back into thinking about all the injustices of the world and how I needed to create stuff and make stuff and put stuff out there to put it all right. And I even woke up this morning kind of, starting writing comments, based around that kind of thinking and going down those rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And I think we can choose and I think, well, why am I the ranty poet who makes serious podcasts? I could be the comedian. I've chosen that life. That's where my attention's gone. And actually, maybe I'd rather be a bit more funny sometimes. My children tell me I'm not, though. So,
oh yeah, my kids think, who do you think? Yeah, I'm always having to tell them, I guess I'm entertaining. Who I think I'm funny. Okay, because they're like, you think you're funny, you're not really funny. I'm like, well, I think so.
Yeah. My God, yeah. What bus are we on?
One of the biggest problems I've got at the moment, sorry, I bang on about myself, but basically, I mean, again, just paralysis from not knowing what to do first. And then I will end up doing nothing, feeling a bit shy about it. And then I'll think, oh, well, maybe I'll have a cigarette or, that'd be my kind of thinking if I was back 30 years ago when I was doing that. It's like, and, the devil makes work for idle hands, when you haven't got a purpose and you don't know what you value anymore, and everything's been so distorted around you, it's very hard to motivate yourself, I think, and we've been confused by the media and bombarded with stuff recently. I think probably more so than for quite a long time. I'm feeling it at the moment. The media weight is hard to avoid, because other people are taking it on. Other people are talking about it. I'm talking about it now. So, even if you're not scrolling it, it's around you and you're aware it's there. And then, like Dom's saying, to go back to actually, I am good. I am true. My heart is good. To be at peace within yourself, regardless of what's going on around you, is probably very important.
Well, the main thing that I try to do, I suppose, is because our brains are always working, we know that, is that there's always things going on in our brains, even when you're not aware of it, right? They say you're really only conscious, meaning aware of your thoughts and aware of what you're doing. But 5% of the time, I got to believe, though, it's probably more closer to 10% for those of us who are trying to get more aware. However, that's still not much. I mean, that leaves 90% of our time that we're not really thinking, even when we're just driving to work. I mean, if you're driving, how many times have you gotten to work and realized, I don't even remember the drive here? Only if something happened, if somebody cut you off in traffic, or if you dropped your keys in the driveway as you're walking out of the, oops, been down, pick it up. You may remember those little things like that, but it's like I drove 40 minutes or however long, 25, 30, whatever. And it's like I drove and I don't even remember the drive.
Yeah, but the driving's automatic, but are you thinking along the way? I mean, like my brain never shuts up. And I know that's not the same for everyone. Everyone has a different brain, but my brain does not stop. It wakes up in the morning. It keeps going all day at this pace. And it's always thinking about something. So even if I can't remember the drive, I'll have been thinking continuously the whole way to work.
I think most people's brains are pretty active. I think there's a bit of I think it's a bit of a myth. When people think of things like meditation, they imagine that meditation is about switching the brain off. And we can switch the brain off. No. But no. What meditation is about creating a watcher. So someone who is sitting there going, "Oh, that's a very noisy brain, that is." And that's the bit that remembers oneself that we were talking about earlier. Remember, Gurdjieff, remembering yourself. The more you create the watcher, the more that you're able to move that thought around and say, "Okay, well, I want this thought bit of me to do this." And that's, I suppose, different to discursive and non-discursive thinking. That's going back to the Greeks.
An interesting experiment which I heard online, and it worked for me directly, is if your brain is going continuously and it's always thinking and you want it to rest, ask yourself internally, I wonder what question I will ask myself next? And then let your brain go quiet. And it does, it just stops it. And I'm like, my God, I've not experienced that for a while. So yeah, anyone who's listening, just say to yourself, I wonder what question my brain will ask me next.
Well, see, you had mentioned a few minutes ago, Dom, and it made me think there's the focusing on one point, right? And there's well, it's kind of a guided meditation, but it's a candle meditation where you light a candle and you basically just, rest your eyes. You don't have to close your eyes all the way. You don't have to be popped wide open either, and just focus on the flame and literally just zero in on that flame and even kind of tune out. At one point, you will just, I don't want to say mesmerized by it, but it's similar. It's kind of like that, to where you really just focus on that flame and focus on that. And of course, you're going to find yourself, you're going to be like, oh, wait, I haven't been focusing on that flame. And you're going to realize, how long has it been since I have focused on it? And then you refocus.
It's probably an app for that. No, I'm just thinking.
I'm sure there is.
I think there's an app where you can actually have a candle on a phone. Just why not do that when you get the alarm? Say, okay, well, I'll just put a little flame on for a while.
Right. Well, I mean, you can do it. You can do it focusing on a star in the sky.
I will make a web page tomorrow that does that. So that's
just a candle meditation page.
I have been generating Poe meditations this week. I've been generating text that is going to be converted into meditations. So that's something. But I think getting your life right to be able to meditate. I mean, I think, when everything's chaotic around me, I don't think there's any way I could sit in a room quietly or I'd find it very hard to go, actually, I'm going to now sit down. So again, how do you prepare your life in a way to then be able to comfortably take that space to do it? And maybe that's part of the point of it, is actually building up to, actually, by 8:00 tonight, I want to be able to sit in a clean, tidy room and look at a beautiful candle with some nice music on, and actually be able to clear my mind for 20 minutes, knowing that I've earned my dopamine for the day, and I don't have to be continuously busy. And I think this is the thing. I think I keep myself busy the whole time, but whether I'm productively busy or busy with the right things is another thing. And maybe that's not an addiction, but it's definitely not a functional habit. It's a misdirection. And I think a lot of my energy does get misdirected. And a lot of it gets turned back in on myself, which I think is not a very healthy thing.
Well, one thing about quitting cigarettes, which I have very recently done, it's not something I've really talked a whole lot about, but is I have realized how much time I just kill with cigarettes. It's like, normally I would, I don't know, go on the porch and have a cigarette. And now that I don't do that, it's like, damn, I've got all this time and I could be focusing on it. It's amazing how much time you waste with stuff like that, really. And it's another chance to tune out. And maybe you're thinking a little bit, but you're not really conscious. You're not really aware of, I mean, what I mean by that is aware of awareness, or conscious of consciousness. It's like, yeah, I'm thinking, or I'm whatever's going on in my head, but am I really focused on that? Am I being the observer, I suppose? Am I stepping outside myself and observing my brain? It's kind of like you started to mention that a minute ago, Dom, talking about how sometimes you just kind of step back and watch your brain, and it's like, wow, you really are an active little dude, aren't you? And it's being the observer, and it's like you just kind of. And I've mentioned to people, just imagine yourself in meditation, just step away, just take a step back, maybe 1 foot away above yourself or behind yourself or whatever, and just watch those thoughts that are going on inside that brain and disassociate yourself from that brain and think, and just like I said, just like in Clive's case, particularly, I'm assuming Clive would be like, you need to take a break. You need to take a break. You are one busy little bee there.
You are a busy bee, a very busy bee, Clive.
You're a busy little bee. Well, I'm talking about Clive's brain. And if Clive became separate, it became the observer and just observed his brain and just let it do what it does. Brains are going to think. You can't stop that. And just, but you, you might be like, damn, you need to chill out just a smidge there, dude. Just come on, let's focus on this candle flame for about 15 minutes.
One thing that I think it could be useful. We were going to go to looking at mobile phones, but I think another thing that could be useful is figure out exactly what is the purpose. I mean, we move around, don't we? We kind of say, well, I'm going to stop this thinking and going to stop doom scrolling and do something else. But I suppose, in a way, what we're doing is we end up going in wheels, don't we? Because I suppose at the end of the wheel, we come back to doom scrolling
right.
or
thinking about thinking.
So, I mean, I go to some of these wise folk as well. I mean, some of the, perhaps mystical people who say that there is some purpose in life to rejoin whatever we came from. This wonderful universe, and prepare ourselves for that. And I get the feeling that if we at any point we make the decision to start that journey, we'll continue that journey whether we're doom scrolling or not. I think that it's good to have confidence in that. It's good to have confidence that once you make the decision to improve your life, to do something, things that are better for yourself, a good way of doing that is to actually make the life of someone else good. It's good to project. I think that's one of the things. If the world would be a very different place if everyone learned at a very young age that being nice to other people does us more good than them.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
it does.
Definitely. And yeah, you're good. You're right. I mean, if everyone would just be nice to somebody, I mean, we all have the ability to just be nice. That's all. Just be nice to the next person you see. And you may you'll never know, but that person could be on the edge, could be on the verge of doing something, harming themselves or anything. I mean, you just don't know. And it's like you may have made the difference one way or the other just by virtue of saying, hello, how are you? I hope you have a great day. Or, I mean, I know it sounds kind of silly. It's a little trivial, but it's little things like that. Just being friendly, being nice to people. I don't know. Anywho.
But again, being nice to yourself and not beating yourself up for doom scrolling and making that choice. I mean, we're our own worst enemies sometimes. And I think, we are possibly sometimes scared of, being alone with ourselves. And they say, if you want to really get to know yourself, sit on your bed at the end of the night, for like 10 minutes, just in silence, and just think about what's important to you and what you want to do. And how many people would do that for 10 minutes and feel comfortable doing that, and to actually really kind of look at what is important, to take stock. And, the time before bed and the time when we wake up is quite important. But there's been many times I do. Literally, the first thing I do in the morning is pick up my phone and absorb other people's problems. What I should be doing is reflecting on my own issues and how I'm going to make my day good for myself, and what I value. What is it that I value? Instead of listening to what everyone else is telling me to value and to pay attention to, and they're stealing my attention and my energy, I need to focus on, actually, if I paint that door, I'll feel better. If I tidy the kitchen, I'll feel better. If I buy food that isn't poisoning me, I might feel better. If I go for that run again, I'll feel better.
Something there's speaking of that, and I know this is really not completely on topic, but in the mornings, here's something I've been doing. I've been reading a chapter in this book, and this is the book that I had mentioned I would like. I heard another podcast, and they went through this book in like one episode. It's Deepak Chopra's The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, and it's a tiny little book.
Was it Deepak Chopra, the guy who's been visiting Epstein?
Yeah, but there's a lot of people mentioned who are not a problem at all. They've just been solicited by him. There's others who have actually gone and look a bit more involved. But anyhow, it doesn't mean that the idea is bad.
Anyhow, this book is fantastic.
I'm sorry I mentioned that.
No, you're good.
I'm sorry. No,
well, see, I'm very interested in Buddhism, and I am a little bit bothered by the whole the Dalai Lama has been seen meeting in his offices in New York for a couple of different times, and then had a secretary that embezzled money. Anyway, but this book is fantastic, and it's a quick daily read. But no, I was not aware of that. I mean, because I really do try to stay out of the news. I mean, I really do try to do that.
Yeah.
But
and that's the balance, though, isn't it? It's that healthy balance of knowing enough but not knowing too much, and actually, like Dom was saying, knowing where to go, actually that's not relevant to me.
Right.
I'm finding that a very hard line to draw at the moment.
Right. But anyway, yeah, that's one thing I've been doing in the mornings is just kind of, I mean, and there's other books. I mean, that's the one that was just kind of within reach at the moment that I could show you guys. But I've been kind of just reading something that's more uplifting and can help you focus on what's important rather than.
Yeah, my experience with Deepak Chopra is he's got some very good affirmations. So that's a good call there, Matt.
Definitely. Yeah, and I was not aware of that other part.
And again, it might not, we don't know if it's true. So, it's very hard. We're told a lot of distractory information. And, that's how certain other people operate to keep people divided, and to discredit people. So there's a lot of that going on. And, whether we should be involved until it's resolved, I don't know, because it's not doing anyone any good, really. I was struggling with this the other night. In that I was listening, someone sent me a Tool song, and I think their musicianship is incredible. Aware there have been quite big allegations against one of the singers or whatever, or the band members. And I'm thinking, well, should that affect the way I listen to that music? And as you know, I mean, I'm a very big fan of Electric Six, and I look up Dick Valentine, and apparently he's a family man, everything, and there's no bad news about him on the internet. And I'm thinking, that's really nice. He still tours 3 times a year at 25 quid a ticket. And I think, well, that's the kind of person I want to listen to. I value the person behind the music. I do want to know that they are a good person. If they're singing about being good, I kind of want to hear someone who is not just there for the commercial gain. I want someone who has passion behind their message.
Yeah. I think a good note might be if people are listening to be aware that a lot of the stuff that's coming on out about people like Epstein is the reason that they're delivering that out there is to discredit your trust. So it's I mean, these are they're not done so that you can attain knowledge that's going to be useful to you. So they're doing it to tell you that you shouldn't trust authority, that you shouldn't trust government. I think that there are certain people who are trying to discredit the idea of democracy.
The biggest danger is that you do not trust yourself anymore. You're told so many different things that you just don't know what to believe, and then you don't trust yourself. And so we're playing into the game by I playing into the game by playing the game. And if I played the game that you're suggesting, Dom, which is to focus back on myself and that path back to my core, then I believe that is a much healthier route. I feel like I've been played quite heavily recently, and I've fallen for it. And I like to consider myself a fairly smart person. But I think my brain has been fully scrambled, and that was their intention, to scramble good people's brains like my own, and they managed it. And if I were 20 years ago, that's what happened over the Iraq War. That's when I started having some addiction problems.
They're going to feed you whatever it is that you buy. If you go this way, they're going to give you more of that. If you go that way, they're going to give you more of that. And the best way to do that is just to turn the damn thing off. I mean, just turn the whole thing off and go for a run. Your Clive, I mean, you seem, and this is just from little snapshots, little snippets of your life here and there, but you seem very happy when you're doing that. Cause you like in our group chat, you'll post photos from from the things that you see while you're on your run. And you just seem genuinely, I mean, you just seem like you're happy. You're just like, this is Clive, and this is this, and those are probably some of the most, I guess, genuine, authentic posts that I see is when you do things like that. And then and Dom, you do as well. Like you posted some from, I guess, from the dock with the boats and all that, yesterday. Those are really nice photos. But it just seems like, okay, this is you being you, and whatever's going on in the world, bombs could be going off, whatever in the background. And, maybe it's a whole, the world could be burning down around you, but it's like, this is you being you.
Yeah. I mean, I put those cheerful photos up, and because it's not going to cheer anyone up if I tell people about the fact that I woke up yesterday morning thinking about my life and some of the things I've done that I regret, and I thought, you know what, I mean, I thought it was a useful thing to do. I feel like I feel as if my awareness is growing. I think I've made some bad decisions in my life, but I made some good ones. The good decisions I made.
Right.
I'm not going to go too deeply into the bad ones, but the good decisions were that I would take certain paths to do with certain personal growth, and I've got confidence that those things carry on growing in the background. Once you take a voyage, it's a bit like the age of discovery. Once people started going out in ships to the Atlantic, the inevitability was that you were going to find Brazil. That's an inevitability. You're going to do that because once you start that voyage, it's the voyage of expansion is going to complete itself. And I think that all of us are on a path. I think that none of us are going to fail because I've talked and read some wonderful works by some very wise people who are very confident about that. So the good thing is, no matter what's happening in the world right now, be confident that everything's okay. But yesterday, I did that. I woke up and I was thinking about some things that I didn't really want to post. So I went and posted some very pretty pictures because that was my decision. I thought I'm just going to take myself around this harbour and
well, I mean,
cool myself off a little bit.
When y'all post those, I mean, it's just I feel like I'm getting the authentic you when I look at that. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Clive. Go ahead.
No, I was just feeling it's interesting because we run the Breaking My Addictions WhatsApp group. There's a few of us on there. And a lot of the time we are not talking about addictions. And I think that's a useful, but I think that's very healthy actually, because actually if you just focus on the addiction, if you're focused on living and better living, that's where I believe the addictions start to fall away a bit. If you focus on, like you say, the running, the making stuff, the doing stuff, the sorting bits out in your life, the, filling your head with better reading, filling your head with better music, maybe learning to meditate or, starting to associate with slightly new people who've got different ideas, creating new experiences. That's when, for me anyhow, I find a lot less issues with addictive behavior because I am, I think, as Dom said, more centered in myself, and it's feels more natural to pick good choices. When things are going well, we don't pick the bad stuff quite so much. It's like, well, I've got a choice of doing that, sitting around and staring at my phone for 4 hours, or I could go out on this beautiful bike ride with this lovely group of people. It's like, well, there's no choice there. Like obviously I want to do that. And once you can start getting those things in your life a bit more, but that's very hard when maybe you haven't got a job or you haven't got the money or you're living in a really bad community. That's not easy to do. But then there was someone else who said that, there are no problems. They are opportunities. And I know that's quite a big stretch to change a problem into an opportunity. But if your problem is you hate your work, your opportunity is to try and find something better. And once you start seeing that as being something that you really want, that is something that is important to you, you're more likely to embark on the thinking processes that will go, well, actually, I need to rewrite my CV. I need to get another reference. I need to apply over there. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to maybe improve my maths a little bit. And, by acknowledging that problem is surmountable, that it can be changed, that it's worth changing. But instead of looking at those problems, I think a lot of people do just get sucked up in the problems of the world. And then they just stagnate in a pool, like a jacuzzi of worldly problems that aren't even there to deal with,
Right. The jacuzzi of worldly problems.
That's the issue with going back to the beginning, that's the issue with doom scrolling, isn't it? Because it doesn't, doom scrolling gets in the way of just doing that thing that is, we think it's difficult, but actually the making the change between I can't make this work to I will do something to make it work.
But it's not just the time spent doom scrolling, it is what it leaves your head filled with afterwards. And that's the mental soup that I struggle with and I carry, and I find it hard to let go of.
Yeah.
And some people may think just like, well, yeah, I was doom scrolling and yeah, it was a lot of really negative things that I have no control over, and all they're going to do is anger me. But I was kind of out of my head. I was not even thinking about it really. I was just kind of going through there, whatever. I'm like, that's probably even worse because that's getting into your subconscious. Because if you're seeing and or hearing it, whether you're actively, consciously zeroed in and focused on it or not, it's still getting into your brain and it's still going to hit your subconscious. And that may actually be even worse because now it's in your subconscious and you're not even aware of the fact that it is. You just know that something's irritating you or whatever. You know, some days you're just irritated or whatever, and you can't even put your finger on why. We may be able to look back on things like that and be like, well, that's why, because I was watching things that really pissed me off, and I'm not happy about that, or whatever. But the point is, we got to get better about what's the term you use, Clive, a lot. You've used it ever since we've talked. Your mental diet. We got to get our mental diet under control.
Yeah, my mental diet is mixed. I have some quite healthy stuff and I have some unhealthy stuff, and I'm aware of that.
Yeah, I think we all do. Well, I think you guys about ready to wrap it up.
We've
Here?
covered quite a lot of ground there. I'm just thinking, for anyone, for ourselves and for anyone listening, possibly, what's one thing we can all try and do this week? I'm going to try and reduce my doom scrolling. And I'm also going to try and increase my meditation time. I'm going to try and find a guided meditation. And again, if you guys can share a guided meditation you found in the WhatsApp group, that'd be great. And again, people can go on Matt's website or my website, so My Sober Addiction or my Breaking My Addictions website, and get a link to the WhatsApp group. We might make it applications only just to keep it a nice tight group. But if you want to apply to come into the group, to be able to chat and to share, and you feel that you got something productive or it might be useful for you, then I think, apply to come into the group.
That would be good. Yeah. I mean, and yeah, like you said, we don't really talk about addiction a whole lot. I mean, we can. I mean, that's fine, but it's mostly just about what's going on in our lives. Like, as I mentioned, these two guys, they post pictures, Clive when he's on a run, and Dom, just like he posted some from the Harvard yesterday, and it was, I don't know, I like it. I mean, I think it's cool. It just seems kind of, I just feel like that's when I get the most authentic version of you is when you're doing stuff like that, and it's like, these are just things, little, there's no news items here. There's no nothing here. It's just a beautiful photo. And hey, this is part of my life. This is what I see. And I think that's great.
That makes me think of almost another name for the group could be some blokes who are handling shit, just talking about how to get through daily life and sharing it with other people, because, we've all got stuff that we're handling, haven't we? And it's good to share just, our daily existence with people.
Yeah,
so,
that's good.
Thanks for saying that, Matt. That's lovely.
Just learning to be. I mean, I sent you that clip, Dom, with the aliens discussing humans. Like, they just don't know how to be, we spend so much time thinking about stuff. We forget to actually just live and just to be. And I know when I'm on a run or I'm writing some poetry or some music or something, I am in a more of a flow state, and I'm kind of like, I'm fully engaged and I'm at one with myself, and that is a nice feeling. And I think, being able to cultivate more moments of that in a day where you feel like, you're doing what you should be doing, whether it's resting or, something productive, to feel that you're following what you value in life can be very stabilizing, I think.
Well, I'm going to double down on my recommendation to everyone, including myself, and I need to do it again with regards to just getting more aware. And if we do the awareness alarms or whatever, just become more aware and catch ourselves more and think, when you do catch yourself, stop. Okay, what am I focusing on? What am I feeding my attention and subsequently my energy to? Because whatever I am feeding that to is going to grow, is going to strengthen. It's going to get bigger and stronger. So is feeding my energy, aka my attention, to whatever this is that good or is that bad? Because do I want it to grow? Do I want it to get bigger, or do I want it to diminish in size? So what could I instead be focusing my attention on? And what have I had my mind on for the last hour or 2 hours or whatever the case may be? I just think that's important. I do, but anyway, so do you have anything you want to add in there, Dom?
Rounding off, that's good. I think there's lots of advice we could be giving to people who are watching. I think that let's do some chatting offline, and we'll figure out what to say on our next podcast. But there's lots of good stuff on here. So yeah.
Yep. Clive, you good? You got anything?
Yeah, just let's all try and have a nice productive week of being and doing, and then maybe do another podcast next week, and we can share back about it.
That'd be good. That'd be very good. All right. Well, that's what we got for you, loved ones. We do love you. I know these guys do too, so I can speak for them. That's fine. We will be back directly.
I spent too much time chasing the darkness of my mind, fighting battles that don't belong. That injustice mine to own grows the seeds that I now sow. No need to rewind or to outrun. Solve the war of what's been done. Present here I carry on. Stronger, stronger. Sometimes I gave too much, so much I could not be free. But hold the lessons, every fight has brought me here. And I am thankful, I am me. I break the chains of old routines, break the dreams of thinking that I can't take the steps to make me whole. When you won't right your wrongdoings of the past, but I am free at last. Stronger, I turned my dreams to faded whispers till I chose to make them real. Through courage and small actions, I learned how to succeed. Humility and new routines, embracing imperfection. I grow inside to mend, no longer bend your world to my direction. Stronger, I start to feel it in myself. Stronger, no need to rewind or to outrun. Solve the war of what's been done. Present here I carry on. Stronger, I've learned to value what's in my hands. Flow to peace, not fight, and stand so much stronger. Every action that goes clear, patience brings what's meant for me. I plant the seeds for what will be this life that builds in me. Don't need to rewind or to outrun. Solve the war of what's been done. Present here I carry on. So much stronger, stronger, stronger. So much stronger than before.